Yes! What is up, everyone? And because the Premier League isn't the only league starting their new season this weekend, La Liga is kicking off too, I thought to myself, f it, let's do another preview. But as a disclaimer, it won't be as extensive as the Premier League preview because I ran out of time to do all of the necessary research. And that's mainly because the part of the world that I live in is on fire. Have you seen these pictures? It looks like I'm on Mordor in the Lord of the Rings. Which now it's making sense as to why I saw Frodo and Sam walking around yesterday. F***ing 2020, man. Anyway, here's the deal. I'm gonna name my champion, my top four, my two teams that will have to settle for the Europa League, a dark horse that could mess up all of my predictions, and my leading scorer of the whole league. That's called the Pichichi, and why it's gonna go to Leo Messi for the 5th consecutive season. And actually, we all know why. It's because the dude is pissed. After getting absolutely slapped around by Bayern Munich 8-2 in the Champions League, the GOAT had had enough. He was done. So he got out the old flamethrower and tried to burn down his 20-year relationship with the only club he's ever played for. But once he realized that it could potentially cost him 700 million euros out of his own pocket to end things, and most likely a drawn-out court case, and maybe even have to sit out a whole season, he decided, smartly in my opinion, to see out the last year of his contract, because in 10 months' time, he can walk away from this dumpster fire for free, which will then force all those people who claim they are loyal to Barcelona to follow him to Manchester City. So I think this is all the motivation he needs to have a monster season. One last middle finger to the Barcelona board that he despises so much, especially if they let his best friend on the team, Luis Suarez, go to Juventus. Plus, let's be honest, a welcome infusion of new Dutch blood into the team, starting with the manager and former club legend Ronald Koeman, and potentially Dutch national teamers Gini Wijnaldum and Memphis Depay apparently on their way, and with Champions League winner Philippe Coutinho back from his loan from Super Bayern, and Ansu Fati proving his undeniable talent at the international level with Spain, and Antoine Griezmann having a year with Barcelona under his belt, so he should feel a lot more comfortable this time around. Messi's going to get plenty of opportunities to score and to set up others to do the same. Now it's just whether they can win the league or not, but that's a conversation for a little later on. So now let's focus the conversation on who is making the Europa League, which, if I'm not mistaken, is 5th and 6th in La Liga and sometimes 7th. If a couple things happen. Those 6 has to go through 10 rounds of qualifying or something just to get to the group stages. But that won't be an easy task because I got 2 squads that should be competing for the same 5th and 6th positions as last season. And no, it's not one of the usual suspects in Valencia who decided to unload all their players this summer, including Kevin Gameiro, which is unacceptable, by the way. And no, it's not going to be Athletic Bilbao Baggins, even though I'm a huge Iñaki Williams fan. It's actually between Real Sociedad and Villarreal. I just don't know who's going to get the better of who. La Real finished in 6th last season, which was a tad disappointing since they had such an exciting squad, being led by some exciting young players like Martin Odegaard and the two Mikels, Moreno and Oyarzabal. But with Odegaard getting his loan recalled by Real Madrid, that could be a big loss. Or it was, until they convinced David Silva to come to them from City instead of joining Lazio. But that's their only move so far in the transfer window, and as much as I love David Silva and I think he should get a statue outside of the Etihad for his contributions to the blue team in Manchester, the dude is 34 years old. And as for Villarreal, they came on strong at the end of last season to finish in 5th and then made some moves in the transfer window, hiring a very successful manager in La Liga. His name is Unai Emery. Good evening. And then stealing Arsenal legend Francis Coquelin for 6.5 million and getting Dani Parejo for free, both from Valencia. So again, Valencia, what are you doing? Not only did you let these guys go for basically nothing, you let one of the top young players in Spain, Ferran Torres, bounce to Manchester City for only 23 million, and then you let Rodrigo go to Leeds for 30? I mean, who are you going to win with next season? Kevin Gameiro can only do so much by himself if he's still on the team when the season starts, because you're trying to get rid of him too. And I'm not going to stand for it. Anyway, before we get to our top 4, let's talk about a dark horse that could really mess up my predictions. And maybe I'm a sucker for saying this since they're considered the Burnley of Spain's top division, but I really like Getafe to be this dark horse team. First, because their manager Pepe Bordalas is the man. And similar to Burnley's Sean Dyche, he gets his players to consistently overachieve, which was evident just last season when they were hanging around in 3rd for a month, and when they knocked Ajax out of the Europa League before they lost, unfortunately, 4 out of their last 6 matches at the end of the season to finish in 8th. But now, with no European competition to worry about, I could see them breaking into 5th or 6th and maybe even taking La Real's spot in particular because I think their schedule is pretty difficult. I don't know if they have the depth to compete in multiple competitions. And maybe even 4th if one of the top 4 take a hot flaming dump this season, which isn't outside the realm of possibility. And I say this because the only thing I'm 100% sure of is who is going to be champion. The other spots? Who knows? Sevilla, who finished 4th last season, are still currently on the longest unbeaten streak in club history, which led to them beating everyone that stood in their way in the Europa League, including 2 sides, Manchester United and Inter Milan, who most people thought would take them down. But with their manager Julen Lopetegui pushing all of the right buttons and having a good transfer window the previous summer, because I still believe Lucas Ocampos was the best signing in all of La Liga last season, they went on to win their 6th Europa League trophy, the most in history. My only concern for them is that they lost one of my favorite number 10s in the world, Ever Banega, to Saudi Arabia, and replaced him with one of their former stars, Ivan Rakitic from Barcelona, who is solid, don't get me wrong, but he's no Ever Banega. And unfortunately, the loan spell of one of the best young left backs in the world, Sergio Reguilón, came to an end, so he heads back to Real Madrid before most likely making a move to the Premier League in Manchester United. With that said, I still believe Sevilla will get 3rd. They got momentum, they got chemistry, they got confidence, and they got a plan, or at least it seems like they do, whereas with Barcelona and Atletico Madrid, I don't know if they do or don't. I don't think it's clear what it is. I feel like Barcelona's just trying to survive, and Atletico Madrid is trying to hold on to this style of play that needs to evolve. It needs to get updated. It needs to go from Diego Simeone 1.0 to Diego Simeone 2.0. And I say this about Barcelona because the Messi situation, which I touched upon earlier, is an unmitigated disaster. However, if I'm being honest, I consider it a necessary disaster because at some point, Messi was going to retire. So if he moved on now, then Barcelona could have at least made some money off of his sale, even if they gave Man City a cut rate at 200 million or 250 million or whatever, which then could have helped balance Barcelona's books and given them room to get more players to replace him. And then on the field, when he's gone, it would allow others to finally step up and take more responsibility, which has to be hard when he's around like, hey Messi, is it cool if I take the penalty this time? Or, yo, listen, I know you're the greatest of all time or whatever, but I got this free kick. Or, you know, Messi, I really feel like you should play the ball to me now. Anyway, when I look at this team overall, I see a lot of talent, of course, but also a lot of holes, especially in the back line. And I'm going to include holding midfielder here as well because these players are either too old or they're not good enough. And I think that will force Messi to have to be superhuman again for them to win the league, which, come on, it's just not going to happen. So I can see them finishing anywhere from 2nd to 4th because I'm not sure we know just yet as to how this distraction of Messi leaving is going to impact the team throughout the season. However, with that said, as I always like to say, he's going to want to leave on a high note. I think we all know that. He wants to leave in the good graces of the fans. So I think he's going to put up a good fight. I think his team is going to put up a good fight, and I think they're going to get 2nd. Which leaves us with the 2 Madrid clubs. And one of these clubs feels like they aged before my eyes in the most recent edition of the Champions League because after seeing their performance against RB Leipzig, as one of my favorite managers got outcoached by that kid that manages the German side, it makes me wonder what the plan is for Atletico Madrid if in your biggest game of the season, you roll out Llorente and Diego Costa up top and leave your 2 top young and expensive attackers, Joao Felix and Alvaro Morata, on the bench for most of the game, if not all of it. It's unacceptable. And it feels like the game has passed Simeone by in some ways because his tactics and player selection were that far off. And it showed me that they need a number 10 in this team, someone to link everything together. And honestly, this was the same thing that I was feeling about Manchester United before Bruno Fernandes solved this problem. So in summation, Atleti need their own Bruno Fernandes. Until then, it's a lot of hardworking guys behind the ball and 2 or 3 attacking players trying to do it all by themselves. And I think that lends itself to an effective style of play, especially in La Liga, but it's pretty boring, and I'm sure the players think so too. So either Simeone's tactics need to evolve and his player signings need to improve, or he's going to lose his most talented players to other teams. And with no players coming in at the moment, I'm going to say they finish in 4th. But I also wouldn't be surprised if Jan Oblak only gave up 10 goals all season or something and they got 2nd. But regardless of where they or any other team finishes, there's only one team on the top for me, and that is Real Madrid. Which if they can do it, and I fully expect that they will, it will be the first time they'll win the league in back-to-back seasons since 2008. And that's because despite making 0 moves in the transfer market, well, outside of recalling Martin Odegaard from loan after he was lights out for Real Sociedad this past season, which I'd say is pretty significant since Luka Modric just turned 35. This team still has room to get better. Eden Hazard can and will play better for sure. Luka Jovic, if he stays, can and will play better assuming he gets the minutes. Vinicius Jr., Fede Valverde and Rodrigo will be a year older and a year wiser, and they're definitely going to get better. Militao was excellent in place of Sergio Ramos against Man City in the Champions League, so the future is bright in case Ramos or Varane get hurt or suspended or aren't playing well and just coughing up goals like we saw with Varane, which is pretty unlike him. So if everyone is healthy, and I'm looking at you, Isco, Marco Asensio, Hazard, and Gareth Bale, speaking of which, what is up with that dude? I'm not sure Zidane, who always finds a way to win an important trophy every season he manages, can keep Bale in the team this season and expect to have good team harmony. For me, he's become a big distraction and he needs to go. But who's going to pay a significant transfer fee for him or even pay his wages, which are astronomical? Maybe a club in China? Maybe the European PGA Tour? I mean, we joke about his golf habits, but maybe he just doesn't have the love for the sport anymore. I've seen it happen before. Anyway, getting back to the team overall, even though they are stacked in every area of the field and have good depth at every position, if you can't score goals, you're not going to win games or trophies, which is why it is of the utmost importance to Madrid's success for Karim Benzema to replicate the season he just had because he was fantastic. 27 goals and 11 assists in 48 games in all competitions is a great return for the big man, and not only that, his hold-up play to help the team transition to the attack was very good as well. So if he can stay healthy and get close to what he did last year, this season could and should be a walk in the park for Madrid. All right, that's it. You know my picks for the season, but what are yours? Hit me up with your thoughts down below, and then be on the lookout for my Bundesliga and Serie A previews next week. Later.